Hi everybody, I'm Randy Baker. I'm the course director for Composition and Visual Design, Digital Cinematography Bachelor's degree. Today we're going to go over just a brief overview of the new FS5 Sony camera that you'll be getting. This is just going to be, this is a brand new camera. We actually just got this camera in to work with, so we're doing this video just to get out to you this week. We'll eventually go back through and do a little bit more professional video for this camera, but since it's brand new, literally, we've had it for 2 days and it goes away again, comes back next week. So I just wanted to go through, you'll see a menu video as well that go along with this, but this is going to be a video that will take you through the camera and kind of look at all the different parts and the bells and the buttons and the switches and what they all do. So let's get started right now with the lens that came with this camera. This is a kit lens. It's the Sony SELP 18 to 105 millimeter f4 lens. This lens is a really sweet lens, brand new technology that came out in 2013. The G series lens is what Sony's calling it. Again, it has a 35 millimeter sensor size lens that is the equivalent to 18 millimeter on the wide end and 105 millimeter on the long end. It's got a zoom control here on the side. Come down a little bit. That you can zoom in and out, tight and wide on it. And it's a E-mount lens that mounts to the Sony FS5 E-mount camera. So a couple words on the lens here. This is a great lens. It's a fixed aperture lens, meaning that as you zoom through the lens range, it doesn't change apertures. The other type is variable aperture, which was what they had on the last camera. But also, you can zoom in and out on the lens. And if you see on the front of the lens here, as I zoom in and out, you can actually see it changing, going in and out. But if you look on the side of the lens, you actually see that the lens doesn't get any longer or shorter, which is a great feature on this lens. So you've got a focus ring in front and a zoom ring in back, and then you also have a servo adapter for zoom on the side. Now the lens, when you match these up, take the camera off. You always want to make sure that when you're changing lenses on these things that you have the power off to these, and always be really careful about changing lenses. You don't want to get any dust or any kind of dirt or fingerprints on the sensor inside the camera and on the back of the lens. The general rule for cleaning these things is try to keep them as clean as possible. First, use a bulb blower to try to get any kind of dust off. If there's dust on the sensor itself, I would send it back to Sony. If you scratch that sensor, the camera is wasted. And then if there's dust on the back of the lens or the front of the lens, just watch the lens cleaning video that's coming out here later in the next week or so you know how to properly clean the lens. Now, there are white dots on here that align with the white dot on the camera. You turn it clockwise to get it to click in. To take it off, there is a little release button here. You push the button, turn it counterclockwise, and the lens will come off. Now, you don't want to push that button while you're putting the lens on. So it's a E-mount bayonet type adapter for this. So on the front here as well, you've got the viewfinder, which we've put on already, and it's got a mounting knob. Now, this viewfinder can go actually 3 different places. It can go here in front, it can go here in back, or if you spin the camera all the way around, it can go here. If you put this on Israeli arm or little articulating arm, there are several mounting points along the side of the camera as well. On the top of the camera, if you were to look at it, you'll see there's an internal microphone here. There's a electronic hot shoe, and this hot shoe is really pretty cool. You can, if you use the Sony wireless microphones, you can actually take this plug out, plug the wireless microphone in there, and have it send power and audio to the camera. It will power the camera, will power the microphone, and it will take the audio from it without any cables. So it's actually pretty cool. And then you have a servo zoom here on the top as well that you can do servo on. Let me just iris down a little bit so you can see this. Servo zoom, and then you have a record start stop button on the top too. I'll flip this around a little bit so you can see a little better what it looks like. Um, Here we go. So you can see this is a record lock button, so you can start and stop the camera from here, and you can also, once it's recording, you can flip it up into a lock mode, or flip it down into a lock mode. So if you have it in the lock mode, you can't start and stop it from here. So if you're holding it by the handle a lot, put it in the lock mode so you don't accidentally hit it. And this is wide, this is tight, hot shoe. Internal microphone, just be careful of this, don't get water or anything in this. And then this is your microphone holder, flips open, your mic goes in there, flips back down. As we go around the camera, you'll see some cable holders. On the side of the handle itself, there's a XLR adapter. And you can see this XLR adapter, if I point the camera at it, right here. And this is XLR adapter number 2 when you're looking at it. It's a line mic 48 volt switch. If you're using the shotgun mic, you want it flipped all the way down to mic 48 volt because that's providing power to the shotgun. If you're using any kind of lav or wireless mic, excuse me, it should be in the mic position, and if you're feeding it out of a mixing board or a mixer, it should be in the line position. So try to keep the caps on when you're not using them. There's a cable clamper is what it's called below here for your monitor cable. So the monitor cable actually comes off the back here of the camera of the viewfinder and goes all the way around and actually plugs into the side over here. Just be careful of this connector here that you're plugging into because it's very fragile, and so to get it out you just push both sides of it and pull it out. Make sure your camera's off when you do that. So let's go back out and we'll take a look at the buttons on this side. So this camera is a pretty full functioning camera in terms of all the features that it has on it. It's considered to be the baby brother of the FS7, which is kind of the Sony workhorse now in the industry. And so what we're going to do is kind of look at the camera broken down into a couple different parts. First, the left side. So right off the bat, you have an ND filter set, and you can go into your menus and you can set these so that they're each of these turns. My hand's just a little hot there. Let me come down on this. Each of these turns will turn it from clear, 1, 2, and 3. And so what we're going to have you do is set up this ND filter here so that you can set it for a quarter, a 16th, and a 64th ND preset. That's 2 stops, 4 stops, and 6 stops for 1, 2, and 3. And then on the side here, you can also change this from preset. This is in preset, so you can click this through, or you can turn this to variable here. And once it's in variable, you can scroll up and down with the scroll button here and actually change it as a variable option instead of having presets. So you can go all the way up to 1/128th ND on this, which is about 12 stops. So it's pretty amazing. This is the first time this camera has ever had, any kind of video camera like this has had this feature. So right now we're going to keep it in preset. And then you have a switch here that will allow you to switch the scroll wheel from ND when it's up to iris. So if you're trying to iris, this is how you do it. You flip this to iris, and then you can use this scroll bar up and down to iris up and down. Next to this is a assignable button number 3, which we have set for status. So when you push this button in your viewfinder, you'll get a 7-menu status display that will go through audio levels, what your input-output set for, how much recording media you have left, and things like how much battery time you have left. Below that is the iris button. So you push this button to flip the iris from auto to manual. You usually want to go into manual as much as possible, almost 99% of the time. But if you see the little A next to the f-stop on your viewfinder, that means it's in auto, and so you want to take that out by pushing this button here. The button below this is going to be one of your best friends. This is the push to auto button on this, and let me just kind of zoom in a little bit more to kind of give you idea what that is. The push to auto button. So this push to auto button is like the auto iris button, but it only is in auto for as long as you hold the button down. So this, if you're trying to figure out where your iris needs to be, the first thing I always do once I have my shot set up is I go and I push this push the auto button for a couple seconds, and I let go of it. As soon as you let go of it, it puts the uh, iris back in manual again. So, but it just gets you in the ballpark for where you want to be for the iris. And then I use the scroll bar here to scroll up and down, scroll wheel to scroll up and down.